Hey everyone, and welcome back to not another Study With Him live stream, but to the first ever podcast here on this channel. A podcast by and from I am Paximus. The link is in the video description. Another Study With Him live stream, incredible guy, check him out. And we're basically, the two of us are basically talking for 1 hour about our goals, about my goals in particular. It was an interview, or more like a conversation between the two of us, the first ever meeting we had with one another as well. And I hope you enjoy it. I didn't want to let the content die. The video isn't up on his channel anymore, so it's a re-upload once again from 1.5 years ago, and many things have changed till then, but it's still the same me. Enjoy watching now, and by the way, subscribe to both of our channels. Subscribe to this one and to I am Paximus. See you then, and all the best.
I tried so hard to let go, writing poetry and rhymes just to get you off my mind. It's either yes or it's no. I'm not a yo-yo on a string that you flip and twist and swing. I'm not gonna vibe tonight. You don't get everything you like, 'cause I'm not ready. If I'm not ready, I'm not gonna vibe tonight. You don't get everything you like, 'cause I'm not ready. If I'm not ready, second guessing your words, 'cause you choke right when I see that you're all I really need. But if I'm honest, I know this whole thing has been a sign that I'm running out of time. I'm not gonna vibe tonight. You don't get everything you like, 'cause I'm not ready. If I'm not ready, I'm not gonna vibe tonight. You don't get everything you like, 'cause I'm not ready. If I'm not ready, I'm not gonna vibe tonight. You don't get everything you like, 'cause I'm not ready. If I'm not ready, I'm not gonna vibe tonight. You don't get everything you like, 'cause I'm not ready. If I'm not ready.
Hey everyone, welcome to Meanwhile Back at the Lab with Paximus. I hope you're having a wonderful day, whether it's the morning, afternoon, or evening. I'm so glad that you're here with us. We're going to have an awesome conversation in just a little bit, and we're going to be hanging out with a new friend of mine. So his name is Marius. His channel name is Not Just Someone. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I actually encountered Maurice's live stream about maybe 3 weeks ago, something like that. And it was just really nice to just kind of get to know him a little bit through that. And then I approached him and said, hey, would you like to be on the podcast? It would be kind of nice to have a conversation with you and, just kind of bring you into the community, if you will, the Study With Me community. And so anyways, we're going to go ahead and get into what I'd like to call a fun conversation with none other than our friend, Maurice. And thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's literally an honor for you, for me, to be on the channel. I said it like earlier, to be part of this community, and so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a real quick just a real quick shout out for the people in the chat. Thank you, Medic, for being here, and Raphael. Thank you so much for being here. If you guys have any questions throughout the conversation, please feel free to put in all capital letters. That's right, you can do that on this channel. You can put all caps and then put your question for Maurice. And so thank you guys so much for being here. It's wonderful to have you here. And Maurice, for those people who may not know who you are, and just kind of starting off in the Study With Me community just somewhat recently, could you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you got into YouTube?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not just someone. That's my channel name. My actual name is Marius. I'm a physics student in his third semester of university. I'm studying in Germany, in a German city called Erlangen. And yeah, but I'm not just doing physics like the whole day. I'm into finances, personal finances. I'm into economics. I'm writing a book. I'm
Wow.
in control of this channel. There are so many things happening at the same time. I'm working out, so there are a lot of things happening at the same time right now.
Right.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of
that's me.
curious because you've already covered quite a bit. So I have questions. So I have questions. And for those of you who are in the chat, if you have any questions, we're going to interweave them into our conversation with Marius. And Marius, I'm saying it correctly, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
I always second guess myself. You have no idea how much I say like someone's name and I'm like, wait, how do I say it again? It's just
Yeah.
because I really have a terrible memory. So please, nobody
Yeah, no
take it
problem.
personal.
No problem.
So one of the questions I have then that I just kind of want to dive into real quick is the track, the academic track that you're on is right now in physics. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
I'm not.
what
I'm
drew
not.
you to physics? What was the draw for you?
Cool. Yeah.
What to you said like, yeah, I'm gonna do physics when I get to college or something like that?
All right. Depends on when we start, because I could start in kindergarten. I could say like primary school, kindergarten, something like that.
Really? Wow.
I wanted to be. Yeah, I wanted to become. So everything started with me wanting to become a marine biologist. That was my dream. That was my
Wow.
dream. Like as a little child, I wanted to one day, um, I don't know, like do scientific or have some scientific research about whales. I was all about whales, and then it kind of
Wow.
developed. I had some ups and downs, and but I never lost sight of science at
Mm-hmm.
all. I was always interested.
Mm-hmm.
My grades kind of suffered over time, but that didn't really matter. And then in middle school, I had this incredible math teacher who not just he supported me like in every level you could imagine. He gave me new material. He provided me knowledge in in not just for school but also for other subjects. And it was just the moment when I was like, okay, math is pretty sick. I wanna stay in math, but math itself can be kind of tough, and physics is still tough. But
Yeah.
physics is applied math, so it's a little bit easier because you can see of why you do what you do or why you study what you have to study, and that makes it easier for me, and I guess for the ones who are studying with me. They, like many people, have similar journeys. So it all starts. Sometimes it not every time, but it sometimes actually starts with the teacher in the school you have, and from there it develops. And even if the grades like were the worst you could imagine, math, physics always stayed with me. That was, yeah, I don't know. It was just it's such a great subject. I mean, everything about it. everything about it. You see, like an electron, black holes. Like I say, like I always say, I wanna major into, or I wanna come to a certain point where there are no answers to a question, and I want to make research into this field, and everything which is like super small, like atoms, electrons, and so on, and everything which is super big is like black holes and galaxies. Those kind of stuff is really interesting. I mean, how can you not see the beauty in it? I mean, look at our galaxy. Doesn't it look beautiful? Look at our planet. Isn't it beautiful? And that's physics.
Yeah.
That is physics.
Yeah, so
Right.
we have a couple of questions, but before we get into it, it's funny that you mentioned marine biologists because that's actually what my sister wanted to do. She wanted to go into marine biology and research whales. It's her favorite animal, and
Really?
she
Okay.
she got entranced with it, and then she
Yeah.
realized also that she had a gift for, relating to people and caring about people, so she went into sociology instead. You know, but it all worked out really well for her.
Yeah.
She's an educator just like myself. We're both teachers, and so it worked out wonderful for her. Just a quick shout out to the people in chat, Raphael, Medic, and Treat People with Kindness. Thank you for being here, Coconut Frog. That's actually pretty funny. I like that. That's pretty good. We have a question from Medic. So for you, Maurice, what is your book about, and is it related to some theories or something to inspire others?
Absolutely not. It has nothing to do with theories. It has nothing to do with physics. It has nothing to do with anything you could imagine. Because this book, or I could say books, because I want to make it like a series. It's just for me. That's the only thing in my life which is actually just for me, where I take out some time and to create something new. I mean, I put in every emotion I have into this book. Into it's a kind of a fantasy book, but they are based on like personal experience. So yeah, it's really personal. It's emotional for me especially. So I'm not sure if others would get the importance of a sentence as well as I do, but I'll try my best to describe it or describe my emotions, because I'm the guy. There are different types of learning types, and some are more visual, some need to write, some are the ones who need to explain some things. And I'm the one who is really bad, like really, really bad with words, talking, but I'm good with words, like in writing or writing sentences, or I say that I'm good at writing. And that's why I decided not to talk about like my emotions, because that wouldn't help me, but to write them down. I can structure a sentence better if I'm like actually writing them down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because I think I'm very similar. I actually don't feel or believe that I'm the best communicator, but when it comes to writing things down on paper, I feel like I'm a fan of my own writing. Yeah. It's one of those feelings, you know what I mean? Like you're like, ooh, I just wrote that. That was pretty good. I got to save that for another day. So no, it's funny because I tend to feel like it's hard for me to sometimes express exactly how I'm feeling. Being an introvert, and I think you can relate to this.
I can relate, yeah.
It's tough. We're trying to convey to people what we're really thinking, what we're trying to say, and it just won't come out the way that we want. But when which is why I'm some would say a tactile learner and one who likes to use a pen versus like digital, just because there's something poetic about that,
Absolutely,
and believe it or not, there's studies that are done with retention rate as far as writing things down versus digitally putting things in.
Okay.
And I was like, trying to do the research on that. And so, as a songwriter, because I do like music and songwriting and things like that, I only imagine for you, it's kind of the same thing. And that's where you pour your emotions out, because a lot of songwriters do that. You put your emotion on that paper and you feel like, oh, this is exactly what I was trying to say. And
Yeah,
there's no misconstrued type of feeling behind that or anything. People are just clear as to what it is you're conveying, because that feels like home for you, and so
it certainly is. Yeah, that's the
is
case.
that accurate?
That's absolutely accurate. But you could have hit the target better. I don't know how to say it, but that's perfect. That's
Yeah.
like the perfect description of me.
Yeah.
I'm journaling, and like I just like if I could never express in words in like with my voice the way I actually feel.
Mm.
And I mean, when you're journaling and just writing some things down,
Mm-hmm.
um, sometimes it's just if you're having a bad day, sometimes you just
Yeah.
scribble over the whole page. That's
Totally.
just because you feel it. But how do you describe that in actual words? I
Right.
mean, that's more difficult.
Yeah.
But I'm trying my best to do that in the book. So yeah, be aware. Like next year, I hope it comes out next year. I hope it will be finished next year. But I'm trying my best to finish it until then.
Well, and Maurice, I actually, if I may, kind of bounce off of her question, I know the intentionality behind it is also about creative process, because you are involved in something that most people would, in my opinion, would say is more analytical. There's maths which, by the way, like if you know anything about me, you know that I just can't handle the math. I just can't do it. But
Yeah,
it's,
I've heard about that. Yeah,
yeah, you
you're not
probably
good
know
with
by now.
numbers. Yeah, yeah.
But there's something about just like the math work that, even if you are really into it and you really enjoy it, sometimes it's good to kind of get away from that and be more creative and more
Absolutely,
expressive. And so I can only imagine that this is a good outlet for you. But what my question is
absolutely.
for you is, during this last year, right? Because it's been a
Mm,
year and people are still experiencing a lot of difficulties
yeah.
in parts of your area, and just the lockdowns and things like that. My question is, when has that become somewhat of a saving grace for you to journal, to write all that emotion that you're feeling during a pandemic, during the times that we're in right now? Has that been a real helpful aid for you so that you can study and focus on your work, or has that been something that has deterred you from that? Like, explain to me maybe your
Mm.
process, your thought process on it.
Absolutely, but journaling didn't start last year. I mean, it was a huge part, especially last year, because my mother, as a gift, gift for Christmas, she gave me like this journal. I still keep it today, and I'm writing, or that's where like it started, where I actually wrote little texts
Mm-hmm.
about me, about my feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, Corona, being alone. I was alone, by the way. I was
Mm.
in quarantine, I guess,
Uh,
during my
Quarantine.
birthday or over my birthday. That was pretty tough.
Oh,
But it,
wow.
yeah, that was. I was completely
That's
alone.
really tough,
Yeah, I was completely alone. That
man.
was not so much fun, but
Yeah.
at least I had me. I had my thoughts. I had the pen and paper, and I used it
Mm.
to my advantage, I would say. The only thing that really suffered in the last year was me being dedicated to pursue physics.
Mm.
That might sound a little bit confusing right now because I am studying physics,
Mm-hmm.
but let's just say I'm a little bit behind of the topics, um, like of my classmates and my colleagues and
Sure.
everything.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so I'm trying my best to get on track again.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I started the study with me live streams, because I want to
Mm.
get back on track.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, but I guess it all started with me um, journaling, with like putting or cleaning up the mess in my brain. Like um, everything was so untidy, and I focused on 3,000 things at the same time. But this way, I just like tomorrow I will be doing this and that and this, and because of this reason the day was beautiful. Or
Mm.
now it's like um, I not just think why the day ends beautiful or why it was beautiful, but now the first thought comes to my mind when I wake up. It's like, why will the day be beautiful, or why was it already beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
Even if I've just slept the whole day, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. So I'm always thinking about the good part, about the good side of life, I guess. And
Yeah,
it all
absolutely.
started with journaling. Yeah.
Wow. And so I can only imagine that part of the journaling process that you kind of started to, work in with the journal that your mom gave you. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like part of that, I wonder how that plays into your studies. How does that prepare your mindset for going into your studies and then going on the study with me streams and starting to encourage people, who may be on your streams, for example, if someone like who's in our stream right now, like if it was medic or if it was treat people with kindness or coconut rock, like how do you interact with them? How do you feel prepared to do that? Is journaling a big component of you feeling like, okay, I can do that? Or are there days where you're just like, I don't really need to journal, I'm fine, whatever the case may be?
So yeah, that's actually a good question. That um, I'm starting the day with a good thought,
Hmm.
and I don't need to write. Like I'm at a moment where I don't need to write down good thoughts, because there are like so many of them right now. I think I'm a good position of life right now,
Hmm.
and so not writing down the good thoughts, but I'm always writing down the bad ones. But still, I journal every day. Um, I'm writing down like what I achieved on the day, what I did, and um, what I will be doing the next day, and I'm writing down it in extreme details. It has to be the details count. Do you know what I mean by
Yeah.
if I say the details count? So like if you set yourself a goal like until March 2022, I want to hit 1,000 subscribers. That would be an actual goal of mine. Um, but you have to know the path, or the path towards it. And I mean, I'm the one who needs to write that down, and I do that by journaling. So preparing myself for the study with me live streams is definitely by journaling, but most importantly, I'm writing down the bad news. Um, that's probably yeah, and this is probably why I don't really like journaling. But it helps. It helps us so much, and uh, I have to do it, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and so here is one another question that we have. Medic actually made the comment. I saw it coming because she is well aware that I do not like math. So that's what that comment's in reference to.
Okay.
But Raphael, thank you so much for your question. And the question is, how do you deal with time management? That's a huge question for a lot of students.
It is. Yeah.
How do you deal with time management?
Well, let's all start it. That's a whole story. Like everything is a whole story. It all started like when I was in high school, and I didn't perform as I wanted to perform, or my grades kind of suffered.
Hmm.
So I made myself a list of what I want to do on a day, and I usually didn't cross one thing off the list.
Hmm.
That's the way I was, and so I thought about why I'm not motivated to do what I'm doing.
Hmm.
So I have to change the strategy.
Hmm.
And this way I changed it, and I developed and developed, and kept on getting better and better. And like one day or right now, I force myself in a situation where I'm not completely comfortable in. That would be the study with me live streams.
Yeah.
And this also forces me to actually focus on work. So since you probably do know my streaming schedule, or some of you know my streaming schedule, you can look it up. And there you can see that I'm streaming like almost every day. On Sunday, I take myself a day off. Currently, I'm still working there, but that's another story. And so I force myself into the situation that I have to do it. And this way, that's the way I'm currently working on. This way it works. Let's just say this way it works. Otherwise, I tried it, or I tried different strategies, and they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The time management itself, that's a tough one. I'm the one who usually comes too late to appointments and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm forcing myself in a situation where I have to perform like I am the best version of myself, even if I am not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
it's funny because time management is not exactly something that, even when you're, for example, myself, I'm in my 30s. Um, and you know, it's funny, you don't really quite have a handle on time management sometimes because, you know, you have, overwhelming duties or responsibilities. You have so many things that are, especially part of the college life, that we can all agree on is the amount of work that we all have, that we
yeah,
have to complete,
yeah,
that we have deadline after deadline. We feel this urgency of like, oh my gosh, if I don't get this done, I'm just, it's, my life is over, type of thing. And I know one too many students, me included, at one point, but one too many students who would procrastinate too much, but also there was students who would work with the time management. The problem is they stressed about it so much to the point of
yeah,
sickness or illness. Um,
absolutely.
what to you feels like it would be a good balance, and treat people with kindness? We're going to also add your question into what I was asking right now. Is it what maybe study tips do you have within that framework of, like, what are some things I can do to make things a little bit easier on myself, not to feel the pressure of that stuff, but any study tips also that come with that?
Absolutely. So, study tips. I think studying itself is extremely individual. So not every person studies the same. I know one person who like blows hot air into his face while he's studying. So he got a hairdryer in front of him while he's studying. I find that completely absurd. But it's the way he's studying. So you gotta figure it out, I guess, for your own.
Hmm.
But the most important thing is, for like everything at all, I would say, um, have a goal. Like, what do you want to achieve? Like, it doesn't have to be your life, but what do you want to achieve in an X amount of days, weeks, months, years, whatever it is. You,
Mm-hmm.
you have to you have to have a exact goal and
Mm-hmm.
work towards it. And if the goal, or if the if the goal, or the motivation is so great, that you don't want to stop, studying itself becomes easy because you get this goal. That's, I mean, physics is another is like it's a really tough topic, because like you got your ups and downs, and it swings like each minute. It really swings each minute, because
Yeah.
like if you're sitting in front of another math problem and you just don't find the solution, and then you can't solve
Mm-hmm.
this one equation. So that's difficult, but you keep going, and that's the important part. You keep going because you got this goal. You want to be, for example, you want to, for me, I want to make research in a field where where the question, or where the answer is not yet found.
Mm-hmm.
That might sound a little bit strange and abstract, but I want to study. I want to work in a field where they combine the general relativity. If you are aware of Einstein and
Mm-hmm.
and
Only a little bit though. Yeah, I'm openly admitted, that I don't follow all that stuff. That's not my thing. It's not my
yeah.
jam.
But you've heard of it. You've
Yeah.
heard of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
at least the special relativity. That's the one most people, or some people even learn in high school.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that's a
Mm-hmm.
part of. And I want to combine it or try. I mean, there's a whole field that tries to combine the special relativity, the general relativity with quantum theory,
Mm-hmm.
and that would bring us the equation for everything,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I'm not sure, but I think that's like the great thing there is, like for having, or for every question having an answer, a mathematical solution. That would be like the greatest thing ever. I'm not sure if we could achieve it even in my lifetime, but I could put in the work. I could be part of this. I could be part of the journey, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm trying my best to end up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have another question from Treat People with Kindness, which I love that moniker, by the way. So that's one of my mantras right there is, be kind and rewind. So
Oh
um
yeah, sure.
yeah.
Awesome.
So any goals for Maurice, any goals that you want to achieve in the near future except the book? Because I think
Mhm.
we know that that's definitely a goal, which I'm very intrigued with, by the way. But any goals that you want to achieve in the near future?
Oh, where should I start? Oh, there are so many things that happen at the same time right now. But
Mm-hmm.
like in the near future, I guess you say the next year, I really want to like grow this channel to, or bring this to a high level.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get back to or like getting better at university. I want to finally perform. Okay, I want finally to perform better, great, perfectly. I don't know how to describe it. I want to be better, the better version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but by 2023, 2024, I really, really want to travel. Can I? 1 second, maybe. So quickly, by 2023, 2024, I want to travel to hike the Pacific Crest Trail. If you're familiar with that.
I'm not too familiar with it.
Okay, so it's a hiking trail, like a long distance hiking trail, that goes from the border of Mexico to the border of Canada.
Really?
So
Wow.
yeah, through
Okay.
California, Oregon, and Washington. And well, the date is set, and I'm working towards it once again. I think everything that's happening right now, I'm working towards it.
Yeah.
That's the situation I'm currently in. Yeah.
Well, I'm
So yeah,
intrigued with
that would be
that
amazing.
journey for you because I live in California. So if you end up doing that journey, that'd be kind of nice to meet you in person in living
Absolutely,
color,
yeah.
and be like, hey, I'll treat you to a meal or something like that.
Absolutely. Looking
Welcome
forward
to
to
my
do
side
that.
of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
By 20, yeah.
Yeah. Go
So
ahead.
I try to do it by 2023, 2024. So
Yeah.
that's the time goal I have. So it's still a little time until then, but it's such a long hike. You gotta prepare yourself,
Yeah.
or you gotta start to prepare yourself even right now.
Right.
Yeah.
The longest hike I think I've ever done was there's a place here called it's Corona del Mar near where I
Mhm.
live. It's a beach area basically, but there's cliffs and everything like that. And that's literally
Oh,
the most I've
beautiful.
ever like hiked in my life. Otherwise, the most I've hiked is like from here to the mailbox. Like, I don't really travel that much unless it's in a car. Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. Well, maybe it is a little bit, but
But you go for a walk with Linus, so
yeah, I do exactly, and I love going on a walk with Linus because exercise is such a huge component
it is. It
to my
is.
life. So I do have a question for you in terms of, we've talked a little bit of the mental health and journaling and just, the gift that you got from your mom, to journal and, especially being in quarantine for the amount of time that you were and, even over your birthday, which was a struggle. It
Mm,
was difficult,
it was, yeah.
but the advantage you said was to be able to write things down. Now, moving forward into maybe a physical, kind of component of it, physically,
Mm,
exercise is really an important aspect to our life. But
it is. It
how
certainly
would
is.
you say that fits in with a study schedule? How does that work, and how many hours do you dedicate to exercise when like there's not to put a fine point on it or anything, but there's
Mm,
people study for like hours on end, and
yeah.
they kind of do things in a way that's one would consider unhealthy. What would you say
Yeah.
to people who maybe are doing that, who maybe do you feel like that's okay, or is physical exercise kind of important that you have to put in that regimen into somewhere in that schedule? What would you say to that?
Abs- Absolutely. So, like during the streams, I'm always saying we gotta stand up. It's important, at least, or that it is at least as important, if you train your mental health, that you train, or that you practice, that you exercise your physical health.
Yeah.
I always say that during the stream, so the least I could do is standing up.
Hmm.
During the breaks, sometimes I just stand up and we stretch a little bit and do a little breathing exercise. I'm always feeling so
Mm.
much after I did this, like this one breath um, breathing exercise. It's just I'm feeling so refreshed afterwards.
Hmm.
That really helps. That, like, my main workout routine would be I'm working out um, every second day for at least a half an hour, and
Hmm.
like focusing every muscle group on the body, or yeah, and I'm stretching every day, like every evening before going to bed.
Mm.
I stretch a little bit, and that definitely helps out. I can see that on the next day or like during sleep. If I
Hmm.
don't do it, like my legs become immediately sore, and I just it feels like I forgot how to walk, and
Right.
yeah, and this way I don't know, it's just so important. It's not even a thought right now anymore. I have to do it. If I'm sitting for 8 hours, 9 hours, 12 hours, you got to work out. It is at least as important as training your mental health,
Mm.
your mental everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, we have a question from Coconut Frog that I find kind of interesting. So the question is, what are things you are willing to
ooh,
suffer for? And this is in reference to the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, and I'm assuming there may be some context there that we don't know about. Have you read the book? Do you know much about it?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
I did have read the book, and um, I that was the only mindset related book where at the end I felt like crying,
Hmm.
because it was so it gave me the emotion, or it like it brought death closer to me,
Mm-hmm.
if you know what I mean. Like, we're currently just living life and living each day after another, and we don't think about, or some of us don't think about that, like one day this journey of
Mm-hmm.
life ends.
Mm.
And so this book really helped out, like remembering my life on the planet is limited. So what am I willing to sacrifice for it?
Mm-hmm.
What am I willing to sacrifice for myself? I guess that's the question. And I guess I go beyond my, I always say own set limits because it's nothing else. It's just in your mind here. I always go beyond that. I try my best. I try to perform better every day. And things that I would suffer for, a good life, I guess. A good life, a healthy life, and being alive at all. I mean, life itself is the thing. I mean, I said it earlier. We have these ups and downs, each of us, and every journey is marked by them, by these ups and downs. And I mean, these downs are like super important, but because these downs make you grow. These downs tell you that you gotta perform better, that you got to change the situation you're currently in. And so I'm willing to give up all to become happy, or to stay happy at least. Yeah. Because I'm currently like in a good state of mind, feeling pretty.
Well, that's good, and I'm really happy to hear that you're in a good place right now, and that you feel that you can kind of, you know, if you will, like make clear of things that are maybe muddy in life, you know. So that's wonderful. Vineet, thank you so much for your question. The question here for you, Marius, is how do you deal with online toxicity? How do you deal with something like that? That's a great question. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I want to ask you this the question as well.
Sure.
So that would be interesting for you to answer it as well.
Sure.
So I deal it by, first of all, you gotta ignore. It kind of sounds harsh, but you gotta ignore the good and the bad stuff that's happening online. Either way, I mean, you can be motivated to keep going, but the good stuff, if they have too much of an influence, like to you, you need them and you become dependent on them. And if you don't get them, or if you don't get the appreciation from the people, from the viewers, then you suffer internally. And so you gotta think about what do you want to bring closer to you, or what do you get, or what do you bring closer to you? Is it the good, the bad? Because the bad, you should completely ignore the bad. That's not completely possible. I know that. I've tried, and there was a person on my live stream who, like for several live streams actually, who created, I think, 5, 6, 7 different accounts, and used to be, was the same one at the same time, had this conversation, and that was just so weird, and they were like mocking me and whatsoever. So that was just weird, and I kind of had the feeling that they were the same person that helped, and then actually the knowledge that they were actually the same person, that definitely helped out a lot as well. But ignore the online community, not completely, of course. Like let the good parts, if there are like actual good news from the viewers, from the people who are currently watching, if there are good news, like, and they're genuine news, and you've got the feeling that they are like could improve your life, be grateful. Just be grateful. But for the bad ones, F you.
Sure.
I mean, thank you for stopping by, for liking the video, for disliking the video. I don't care. The click itself made it worth it that you stopped by, and as the comment helps out with the YouTube algorithm, so I don't care.
Yeah. I think for me it's you know, part of the question that I'm seeing from Vineet is how do you deal with online toxicity? And for me, it's become not humorous in any way, shape, or form, but it's actually been something that I've kind of gone towards head on, and I've decided to deal with whatever that may be. Like for instance, I've had people on my live stream who have, undoubtedly said stuff that I didn't agree with, and they also would get upset that I said something, and quite honestly, like I get messages, DMs, and on Instagram and TikTok and all this other stuff, even Discord, where they'll tell me they didn't agree with what I said, and that's
Yeah.
okay. That's absolutely fine. We need to live in a world where that's okay, that we can agree or disagree and still be civil.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but the amount of ignorance that came with that was kind of disheartening. And so I would see, and I can tell that those people would return to my live stream to do like a dislike.
Mm,
And don't ask me how I know. I just know that they were the ones hitting the thumbs down, and which, hey,
yeah.
if you want to do that, that's totally up to you. Some people have a valid reason for doing that. It's just they don't like the content, so
Yeah.
that's perfectly normal. But what I actually do is
Absolutely.
I face that head on, and I say, hey, for whoever left the thumbs down, I really hope you're having a better day, because it sounds to
Mm,
me like you're not having a good day. And
right. Yeah.
for whatever reason, you're coming on to the live stream, and something I said didn't quite resonate with you, and that's okay. But hopefully you feel like that changes, and that your day gets better. And so what I do is I address them, because they are people. Even if they are trolls, they are people. And so literally every single time I've done that, I can't really think of a time where it didn't change from a thumbs down to a thumbs up. Um,
Ooh. Wow.
because you're dealing with another person, and on the other side of
Mm,
the camera lens, and that's the I think the responsibility, that a lot of people feel as study streamers. They feel like, I have to be here for people. I have to do that. I think to a certain extent, sure, you should feel that kind of responsibility, because you want to provide a service. You care for people and help people out, but along the way, you also need to think like, well, I mean, I got to think about myself too. Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
and my mental health and everything like that. But I notice and recognize that on the other side of that camera is a living human being in one shape or another. There's some sort of human being
Mm,
interacting with me, and I have to deal with it. And I think
yeah.
that if we're able to do that, then most likely in the real world, we're not ignoring something. We're not, you know, um, we're not leaving it alone to, like, oh, I don't notice it, I don't see it, because I think in one shape or another that leads to apathy, and that is a
Mm,
dangerous road to follow, because if you ignore things, it's super easy to tune out. It's just easy. And so I just, with things like that are on my live stream, as an example, of course, something as small as that, I don't want to ignore it. I want to actually, face it head on, because
interesting. Yeah.
I think that that is a life skill that is worth developing, because when things get hard in college or in high school or junior high or post grad, whatever place of life you're at, if things get too difficult, you won't know how to manage, the difficulties of life. And so part of a skill set that I teach with, my students is, when something aggressively comes towards you, how do you deal with it? Online toxicity and all that stuff being one of them. How do you deal with it? Well, there's certain steps that you should take. You should say, okay, well, what is it that they're actually upset about? What are they talking about? Why is this an issue? Things like that. And then face it head on, because if you ignore it, it leads to emotions like apathy, in my opinion. It leads to places where you just completely disregard it. And then in real life, that becomes somewhat of an issue if you're doing the same thing. You're mimicking your online experience to your real life experience, that becomes an issue, and you start to think differently. You start to see things differently, and then you disregard the things around you. And so for me, as difficult as it may be, I want to face it head on, whatever it is online, and then deal with that, so that that also translates into real life. And I just don't want to be apathetic ever, you know. So
Yeah.
hopefully that makes some sense, you know.
It certainly, it definitely does. Well, yeah, that's a completely, I would say, different view than I have, but you're completely right as well. I mean, um, don't ever let, just because it's negative news, don't let it too close to you. But like, why? Ask why does the person who wrote the message, like who disliked the video, whatever, why did you do that? And how could you? I'm the one who always thinks, how could I improve myself? In the first streams, I was like, if you got any critics, please tell me. Like, I want to improve myself. And
Yeah.
so I think there's a difference between a hater, like someone who just
Right.
comes by and to I
Just
don't know,
does
to,
it.
to
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
you know the difference. You know the difference
yeah,
between someone who blatantly is going to your live stream and not even thinking about it. They just put the thumbs down and then they leave. You know, they're
yeah,
like, "Oh,
yeah.
DoorDash," you know. You know, they're doing it because they want to get a rise out of you as well, you know, and
Yeah,
they just want to see someone like lose their temper or lose their cool.
yeah.
So, but and what we'll do right now is, because we need to start wrapping up in a little bit. So,
Mhm.
if any of you who are watching this right now, if you have any last questions for Marius, please go ahead and put it in the chat. In all caps, you can put in the word question and then your question, and then just let us know if you have any last questions. And then, Marius, I do have one last question for you on my end.
Awesome.
Is what do you plan on doing with the Study With Me stream, and where do you see it going in this next new year, in the new year of 2022? Like, like, for example, and this is kind of a tough question, but when summer hits, do you
Mhm.
stop? Do you continue?
Never,
Like, what's your
definitely.
mindset for that?
That's a difficult question because of the not because of the question itself, but because of the plans, the enormous plans I have for the channel. There is so many things I want to do with the channel. I want to become, or I want to get more into video creation, not just here being in front of the camera, but also into video creation,
Yeah.
and shooting some, uploading them, like next to the Study With Me live streams. I want to grow the community. I want to start a website, or like publish a website. And there's so many things happening. And I'm always saying, like, go ahead, subscribe. Otherwise, you're really missing out. And that's the case. It's just the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to have a more detailed look, I set myself certain goals. I think the first one would be like in January, I have to start a company. So this hobby itself becomes a business, and that itself changes so many things. I want to invest my own money, getting better equipment, and so the camera view you currently see will definitely look different. What else? Like the thousand subscriber mark is still a number, and I want to make it happen. There is some on the stream who believe that my goal is too easy to reach, but I think like having 1,000 subs at March 2022 isn't super easy to reach at all. So
You're like, yeah, it takes some time to get there.
yeah, it does.
Yeah,
But
but
I think
sometimes it does. It does, expedite. It
absolutely.
sometimes gets there a little bit faster than most people. So, and that's a wonderful goal to have, because that's part of growing your community. It's not necessarily a numbers game, but realizing that those numbers represent people that you have been serving and caring for.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
We do have
All right.
a quick question. The things that annoy you while studying. That's a wonderful question. Thank you so much, Vinny, for your
That's a
question.
good question. Yeah,
Yeah,
it certainly is.
I have plenty of things.
Um, yeah. I think the first one that would come, or the first one that comes in my mind right now, comes up in my mind right now, is uh, my being me is also very, or like not being as dedicated as I should be. Let's just say not being as dedicated as I should be is very difficult. So uh, I mean, the one or like one of the many things that annoys me is since the stream is online, I gotta have YouTube online as well and YouTube running as well. So, and next to YouTube, there might be a little chess tournament. I could play, I could watch, whatever.
Hmm.
So that's one thing. My mobile phone, I have to get rid of my mobile. I even deleted Instagram on stream because it was just too annoying. It was too much information, too much uh, tox, toxic toxicity, I guess.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Yeah, yeah.
um, there's so many things. What are yours? What are yours?
Oh man. I think the one thing that annoys me the most is the internet.
Yeah.
It's just 100% the internet because I love the idea of going into a library, a physical library, to open up a
Mm,
book and research something
yeah.
versus going online because I get hyper distracted with a Google ad or just some sort of
Yeah.
YouTube ad or anything like that. I get so distracted. So one of the things that I do to combat that while I'm doing research is reminding myself, yeah, and I think this is where maybe accountability comes in because I view it differently than most people.
Mm,
But when you're on the stream, you remind yourself, like, maybe put it in this context. But as a teacher, I have to remind myself that I'm with students, fellow students. By the way, I'm not the teacher.
mm,
You're the student. It's not nothing like that. But I'm putting myself in a teacher's position where if people are watching me, I need to be a good role model and do the best I can to just allow people to study. I don't want to be a distraction to them. Why would I distract
that's true.
myself? So when I'm looking online, I have to remind myself throughout those 50 or 60 minutes that we're studying, okay, you're supposed to stick to what you're supposed to do. Now if I tell people, however, that, oh, I'm just I'm doing research, but I'm also going to be working on side projects, stuff that I've been putting off, but it's creative and it's fun. I'm going to be searching the internet. They know ahead of time I'm doing that. So it's not like
Mm,
I'm not hiding anything from them. So, but one of the things that's the biggest distraction and the most annoying thing is the internet itself. It's just
it is, yeah.
because then it does distract me from what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. Sometimes, there's some sort of ad or some sort of, for me, believe it or not, the chat isn't annoying at all. I actually enjoy it because
Mm,
it's like you're at a library with other, friends. And when people
yeah.
come and, join you on the live stream, you're like, hey, how's it going? And then you go back to your studying. I personally have that mindset, of greeting people as you see them come in versus not seeing them at all, and then only seeing them during the break. Because for me, that's
Yeah,
not
that's
that's
true.
not the reality, but everybody's different, and that's okay. People
Mm.
people are allowed to not focus on the chat, to focus on their studies, and then when break time happens, you know engage in conversation with those people. That's totally fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's. I think you want to wrap it up, um, but I think it's super important, especially if you were starting, if you just started out with your channel like I have, that you actually participate in the chat, that you actually are part of the community, and
Yeah.
um, like every human being out there is super valuable,
Hmm.
like for the growth of the community itself.
Hmm.
So I mean, one day it might go exponential, but still, like it's pretty flat right now. So you gotta start by greeting, as you say, by greeting every person, by
Sure.
being the most genuine person you could be, like be yourself.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that's what helps me. And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, Marius, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been awesome to get to know you. We do need to unfortunately wrap it up, but guys, thank you for also following us in the chat and subscribing. Please do me a huge favor and subscribe to Marius. His information is in the description below. Marius, thank you so much for being here. It's awesome having you here.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. And guys, thank you again so much for being here and saying hello and being involved in the chat, involved in our community. Unfortunately, we do have to wrap things up, but here I just want to give you a couple of things to remember. Is number one, thank you so much for being here. We're trying to get this channel up and growing. We have a lot of people involved in this channel and future dates that are coming up. So we'd love to have you part of that journey. And so if you have any questions or any thoughts about this live stream, put it in the comments after the live stream is done. We'd love to hear your comments of what things you'd like to see on this channel, things like that, of that nature. And guys, thank you so much for being here. It's been wonderful to have you here. And I love these podcasts because it allows me to get to know people. And hopefully you feel a little bit closer to all these people that we're getting to know. But until next time, remember to be kind and to rewind. Have a good day, and we'll see you later. Hadouken!